Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective, on again. Bruce, One Chance, Many Sounds. We are in our day two recap of the NFL draft. Storylines abound, much to talk about. We're going to get right into it. First, quick shout out to our video sponsors, Boss's Ranch. Shouted out them earlier today in our Why Doesn't Texas Produce First Round Pick video. And here they are again. Spicy
Yeah,
Red River Ranch, Texas fans. We actually had some people get drafted today. We'll talk about that. Shout out to Mr. Brandon Jones, Devin Duvernay. But don't forget your Boss's Ranch, HEB, for those of you in Central Texas, cold produce section. Bruce, I'll have to send you some over
yeah,
there on
man.
the
I've been
East
waiting for
Coast so
mine.
you can experience the magic of the Boss's Ranch. Now,
Absolutely.
we're going to kind of go somewhat in order of the flow of the draft. So I'll
Yep.
save some of my thoughts, especially on my Texas guys. Brandon Jones going to the Miami Dolphins, Devin Duvernay going to the Baltimore Ravens for a little bit later as we transition to the third round. But starting with the Dallas Cowboys, who did pick at 51 in the second round. They select Trayvon Diggs. And overall, and we obviously select Neville Gallimore of Oklahoma. We got two Oklahoma guys in the third round. Starting with the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm biased, but I'm also very, very plugged in. I mean, college football is what I do, and just from what I've seen and from what where we're picking, I feel like the Cowboys are winning the draft as of right now. I,
hmm
I absolutely love what we're doing, and my first question to you, brother, as a fellow Cowboys fan, what are
Yeah.
your feelings? What are your thoughts coming out of day two for the Dallas Cowboys?
Again, man, I think you said it best earlier before we got on here. They didn't panic. We came into this round, and there was, you sent me the text message where somebody had said there's about 20 players that they thought could also have gone in the first round in this draft, relative to the people who also had gone in the back half of the first
Yep, that was
round.
an
And
executive that had texted, I believe, Adam Schefter.
Yeah, yeah, and so it was very interesting because of course you see the names on the boards, you see the Grant Delpit, the Xavier McKinney, you see the receivers there, and you start to see guys getting picked off very early and targeted, even the running backs. And you're sitting back there and you're like, all right, maybe this is one of those times where they need to go up and secure the guy that they want. Some of the guys we thought would go up and secure, they still didn't even go to later. Um, and honestly, my takeaway from this is, and maybe this is giving too much credit, but I think this is the Mike McCarthy effect, really. And showing the real ability to stand in there, make a pick. You don't have to panic. You evaluate the board. There's going to be good players there, and don't feel like you have to make a splash move. I think everybody's going to remember this as being a splash move for the Cowboys because, of CeeDee Lamb. But I think
Sure.
what people are going to forget is we didn't trade up for that guy. That guy fell to us. We didn't give up any assets to go up there and get that guy. And so when I looked at this, Trayvon Diggs, that was a guy who I told you early on in the draft, I was good picking him in round one just from the way he competed, the long arms, bringing in the new DB coach. I thought that he could be somebody who, with proper technique and strength, could really benefit from that. But also, he played on an elite level. And then you look at, Gallimore there also. We're talking about big players that played in big schools and big games. So, hey, I'm 1,000% with you. I think the Cowboys are winning this draft. I think that you're going to have, your shows that are going to try to make a case against that because they're the Cowboys
Sure.
and somebody has to object to it. But I would need somebody to
They're not going to get
objectively.
their just due for being
Right,
shrewd or smart. No.
right, right. Yeah, and I almost started to text you today, and I was like, so what BS ratings is Madden going to come out with this year for the Cowboys rookies? Because so now all of a sudden CeeDee Lamb going to be a 76 because he's on the Cowboys, but would have been 82 on the Falcons or the Eagles or anybody else like that. But that's neither here nor there,
We can have a separate video just about Madden ratings and the
man. Well, that's
thought
been a passionate
process
thing.
that goes into that. But going back to the Trayvon Diggs pick,
Yeah,
shout out to the brother straight up for being, he's a DMV guy. For those that don't know,
yeah,
Steph
man.
Diggs was a legend at Good Counsel. He was one of the all-decade guys, what he did. And so Baby Diggs, as I call him, Trayvon Diggs, comes over to the
Mm-hmm.
NFL. So he's got that NFL bloodline pedigree.
Went
And
to
he's a
Wootson High
guy.
School, I think. Like Wootson?
So he's somebody who playing, transitioning from receiver,
Yeah.
transitioning from being that return guy to playing corner, trying to play man, trying to figure it out. The one thing that the Cowboys have been very clear in looking for, even re-signing Anthony Brown, looking to move on
Yeah.
from Byron Jones, they want playmaking guys. And so when you have somebody that can,
Mm-hmm.
this is one thing I've always said: can you find the football? Can you find the
Yes.
football in the air, and can you play the football? And so those skills do translate over defensively. Now, you will see a lot on tape where Trayvon Diggs is behind his man. That's why he's in the second round with his talent level, and he's still learning and growing into that position. I still think the Cowboys need to go ahead and wrap up it's not wrapped up yet with Drake Kirkpatrick, right? They're still like talking or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would be on board even for getting somebody like that on board with a similar body type.
Yeah.
But
That's going to be an after the draft type thing.
Yeah.
We're going to go through these next rounds. And then,
but it's clear that the Cowboys know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And to get a player like that who many people did have a first round grade on, even if you had a late first, early second grade, that is tremendous value to get a player there at 51. A lot of people started to panic. Hey, Grant Delpit goes off the board to the
Yeah.
Browns. Kyle Duggar goes off the board. Antoine Winfield Jr. goes off the board. So I started seeing a run with some safeties, some defensive backs, and it's like, all right, like you said with Mike McCarthy draft philosophy, don't panic, let the board talk to you. And it's
Yeah.
funny because a player, again, that people mock to us at 17 is right there for the taking at 51, and just couldn't ask for a better situation, all things considered. I love the point you made when we were on the phone earlier. He went up against 4 dogs at Alabama every day in practice.
Right.
And he's gonna get that work again going to Dallas, right? Going against an Amari Cooper every day, going against a CeeDee Lamb every day, going against a Michael Gallup every day. Those are great reps as he's learning the nuances of the cornerback position. We got the brother coming in from A&M who's going to be coaching the corners now. So I'm thrilled. And very rarely have I said that since we've known each other. I think I felt this way in 2016 about our draft overall.
But the Zeke year.
But I'm getting that same type of energy, man, just consistently. I was on the phone with Tran earlier when we were going down to the countdown to 82. I think we picked Neville Gallimore, and around 77, and we're starting to see some names come off the board. And we both texted each other. We're like, we're gonna get Gallimore, and it's funny because as a Texas fan, he's another guy who I saw a ton of. And the game, I actually went to the Cotton Bowl game, the Red River rivalry this year, where we unfortunately lost to OU, and our quarterback got sacked 9 times. The person that was the trigger man behind all of that up front was Neville Gallimore, as he flat out abused our all-conference center, Zach Shackelford, owned him that day. And so when you look at the highlights and you see even his 40 time, he runs a 4.85. He's very, very nimble on his feet. He's raw, right? And that's another reason why he kind of felt, because some people are going to say, well, Steve, if you're boosting these guys up, why are they available at 82? They're not perfect prospects, right? But Neville Gallimore is a guy who I think the guy from Pro Football Focus had him ranked at 51. You're getting a guy like that at 82.
Yeah.
Right? Trayvon Diggs, I think some people had him as high as 19. I saw him as low as 31. You get a guy like that at 51. So tremendous value. Neville Gallimore, again, Tristan Hill, you're on notice, brother.
Well, at this point, I think Tristan Hill's not even a part of the roster anymore. At this point,
I can't say that. He's still a second-round pick. It's sink or swim.
But what I mean by that is, it's clear that they are still addressing that as if he's not a factor. Now he's going to come in, he's going to compete, they're going to go after it. But the thing I would say with these 2 picks today is that they went for upside. Look, when you get in the second and third round, I think it's a battle of, do we pick somebody who's ready-made, but maybe they're closer to their ceiling, or do you pick a guy like you said? you may pick somebody who's raw, who tape's not the best, but you're projecting about what they can do in your system, how they're going to develop physically, technique type stuff. I think that's what you're looking for. And I really applaud the Cowboys for picking players that they felt like they could develop who can possibly be maybe even not elite level start, good quality starters on this team versus picking somebody who's going to come in, they're going to be okay, but we kind of already will know where we're going to get from them, whether that's AJ Epinesa of the world, where the production's there from a college standpoint, but they're not going to get really any faster. Like you very much know what those players
Well,
are.
especially in a draft like this, and this draft right now is getting a lot of hype, deservedly so, because if you watch a lot of these guys play in college, and we had some debates, even you and
Yeah,
I, like I'm telling you, Gross Matos from Penn State would have been top 25 in last year's draft. Like any other draft, there's so
yeah,
many guys you can say that about. Like even Grant Delpit, you can make the argument Grant Delpit sneaks into the first round last year with the same tape, right? You see a guy like a
right,
Denzel Mims slide. You see like 12 or
right.
13 receivers go before a Denzel Mims. So this is not a normal draft in any sense of how it's being conducted, because we can talk about Commissioner Goodell. He barely made it. Hopefully he can get some rest tonight and finish strong
Right, man.
tomorrow.
He was,
But Commissioner Goodell gets a C minus from the Ngati headquarters over here.
well,
That was
he's not used to
poor
he,
performance.
well, he's not used to calling the third round. He's usually done after round
That's true.
one or two.
And they
So
have,
this is
well, they got to make, well, I think they don't want to risk it with, so many different feeds and connections and stuff. They did
yeah,
have some hiccups today where they were trying to go to people for audio, and they seemed to be very delayed. But when you're having this much coverage, all virtual, just like you and I are using Zoom right
yeah,
now, and so many people are using the same tools, there's going to be some technical difficulties. So
yeah.
shout out to Commissioner Goodell trying to hang on there. It was,
Right. He was so, and not to spend too much time on Goodell. A couple things I noticed about the broadcast and production standpoint. Like again, even him trying to pump up the crowd, he was still trying to get them hype about the
he was
Patriots.
like, he told the
He's
Vikings
like,
fans, "Skull."
yeah, he was just like, he was like, come on, y'all. That's the best y'all got. I was like, okay, Mr. Rogers, calm down. Let's just
Yeah,
say the name of the pick. And then also from a production standpoint, one of the things I noticed, not a big deal, but I noticed what they're doing is they're essentially showing a pre-recorded version of the player sitting down and then trying to, and of the coaches and the GMs, and then trying to flash ahead to when the actual player gets picked. Because I noticed even with Grant Delpit, for example, they kind of showed him in this kind of still like running image, but then as soon as he got picked, he's on the phone. Like you never see him actually answer the phone. So
but
it's
you
like,
know
okay,
what
clearly I
though?
jumped the time. Like,
I'm okay with all that. You have to do what
yeah,
you have to do from a TV production standpoint. I just think they're going so heavy with the, as Scooter Magruder tweeted, hey, why is it we have to show all this debilitating, horrible childhood stuff for every single player? I mean, it's
yeah,
crazy, like some of the stories and some of the players that their backstory. I understand we always want to learn
yeah,
backstory about players, but I mean, every single guy, it just seemed like every other player they either lost. And some of these brothers have come through a lot. I'm not trying to
yeah.
reduce that whatsoever, but they seem to go very, very heavy with that throughout the broadcast. But getting back to
Well,
the
also,
draft.
wait,
Oh, go
real
ahead.
quick. I want to speak on that part real quick too. Um, about they, and we talked about this earlier today. They definitely changed the format. Didn't show any strengths weakness videos. Everything's either strengths or family member stuff, with an overlay of talking about the weaknesses maybe, but not actually showing the missed tackles, the poor decisions that they made on film. I thought that was really blatant, because now all of a sudden you got dudes drafted in the second, third round, and you're like, okay, you're showing all that good stuff. This looks like a first round. Explain to me, let me see the other side of it, and you're not giving me that. So it's having for the audience to kind of either do their own research or guess, what really is happening. So that was something I didn't technically love. And a surprise winner of the day, people with dreadlocks. Let me go ahead and take mine off too, wear them proudly, because I don't know. I thought all the barbershops and everything were closed. Everybody had fresh cut confidence going on. So shout out to all those brothers. We don't know where they're getting their haircuts, but
Right.
apparently across the nation, people are still getting their haircut nicely. So go with that.
Hey man, hopefully they're practicing safe social distancing. But
Hopefully.
brothers got to look sharp on draft day.
Oh yeah, even at home,
Yeah,
even on
some of y'all are
FaceTime.
risking it all, but I
Right.
mean, so it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot going on. It's been really fun to interact with people on social media.
Yeah.
Again, the girlfriend stuff was prevalent again today, and will continue to be tomorrow. So, uh, I do want to hit on my Longhorn guys that real
Yeah. Let's dive.
quick. Brandon Jones goes 70 to the Miami Dolphins. I really, really like. Probably the only pick I kind of scratched my head with the Dolphins was Austin Jackson. I think at
Yeah.
like 19 or something like that. But other than
Yeah.
that, I really, really like what Brian Flores, I think it's Chris Greer, are
Yeah.
doing over there. And so getting a player like a Brandon Jones, for those of you who are not Texas fans or not familiar, I'm glad they covered the binder he put together, breaking down and diagnosing all the NFL teams. Those of us who have watched him since he came to campus, he's always been a very cerebral kid. He's always been a massive part of the community. He's somebody that no matter how he plays on the football field, people love him. And so as the football player, he's
Mhm.
extremely fast. Uh, it's just finding the ball is the challenge with him. But I like the fact that he's going to a team. His personality wise, he fits in really well with a guy you're very familiar with in a Byron Jones.
I was
And
gonna say Byron Jones is the
same
perfect person
type
to
of
put him with.
temperament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same type of temperament. And the other thing that Brandon Jones is going to give you, he's going to be an A1 special teamer day one. So Miami's very, very fortunate to get a player like that. I believe they didn't re-sign Rashad Jones at
Nope.
safety, so he also fills a need. I like them getting Raekwon Davis from Alabama.
Oh.
Very, very underrated. A guy I think people forgot about. Another guy who maybe last year goes in the
Yeah.
first, earlier than he did. So, and then Devin Duvernay balls right into the Ravens'
Yeah.
lap. And so I want you to touch on the Ravens will kick because I know how I have my thoughts about Devin, but you go ahead.
No, I mean, I think the Ravens, we joke about it all the time. They're like my nemesis of the draft. I clearly had a cousin who played for the Ravens. I don't hate the Ravens. They're technically one of the local teams. They might be Washington's current team now. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we'll save that hot take for later. But it's just funny how they have a habit of picking my guys, man. Picking my guys that I'm like, all right, maybe we sneak one in, maybe, fourth round, man size. The Ravens always seem to come up and do it. And they're going to use the player right. They're going to draft the players with a plan. You saw they picked the running back today also. But again, going
Yep,
back to
pick
Duvernay.
J.K. Dobbins. Those of you in
Right.
LaGrange, another guy who
Yeah.
fits. He fits in
Right.
that offense perfectly, right? And
Right.
so,
And here's the thing with Duvernay too, man. I think, these dudes have, Hollywood Brown. They got Duvernay, like they got
Mark
speed, but
Andrews. Mm-hmm.
right, and they can the Ravens can use him in so many ways that they're pounding with all this misdirection, but they got two guys on the outside, or even if he's in the slot, who can run right by you. I know not everybody was impressed with Duvernay's combine from a standpoint of it looked like he may have fought the ball a little bit, maybe didn't run as fast as ran fast, but not as fast as
I mean,
maybe
he
they
ran
thought
four
he was
three
going.
nine. I mean,
Right. I don't know how much faster you're gonna get, but again, going to him though, like the man plays fast on tape. He doesn't drop the ball on tape. So I mean, again, the Ravens got them one right there. And it's good. I mean, honestly, it's good to see Texas players and even some of the USC players. It's good to see players actually getting drafted from these universities again.
that we
It'd be
grew up
nice.
on. Yeah.
Right. So it'd be cool. Hopefully, we can get back into the first round sometime soon. But we'll go take what we got. So yeah.
I'm excited to see Devin with the Ravens. I agree with you. I think he's going to be utilized right off the bat in a myriad of different ways. He's a guy also that played a lot in the backfield because he has a running back type of build, which
Yeah.
I think NFL teams kind of knocked him on a little bit. We've talked about that before
Yeah.
too, where they can be a little body conscious. They mentioned the lack of wiggle. That would be probably my biggest thing in him, just the route running stuff technique wise. But those are things that can be developed and learned. But the competitiveness when the ball's in the air, the natural
Yeah.
ability to catch with your hands. I think he had 175 or 176 catches in his career at Texas with only one character drop, right? So that's an unbelievable catch ratio for on target
Yeah,
balls, right? And then the speed element of it, playing with the Lamar Jackson, where
yeah,
they just guys are gonna get released when you're running around to the offense. He won an MVP like this because you're so dialed into your run fits in
you're
their
right.
scheme. And before you know it, one of the things we noticed about the Ravens last year was they were always at the 40-yard line, like instantly, right? On the
Right.
opponent's
It's like
40-yard line. It's like, how are they already in field goal range every single
right.
time? Like,
And mind you, they got a Longhorns kicker that so striking distance for them is really sudden. Again, and you
hey,
think
they're the
about how their team
Baltimore
is
Longhorns now, by the way, because we got Earl
right.
Thomas, Justin
Oh yeah,
Tucker, Devin Duvernay, Deshaun Elliott, like all those guys over there on
yeah.
the Baltimore Ravens. It like I don't think there's
Deshaun
another
Elliott's
team in
my
the league
guy.
that's yep.
It's
So
my guy.
my man, the Joker, man. So
Right. That's my
um,
guy right there.
I'm very, very excited to see those brothers, and
Mhm.
I hope they flourish. There's still some other brothers I'll be waiting for. Colin Johnson. We'll see where
Yeah.
he goes in day 3. We'll see if Zach Shackelford gets drafted. Hopefully, they don't hold the Neville Gallimore tape against him too much. And even a guy late like a Malcolm Roach may or may not get drafted. We'll see. Now, I want to finish up here with you had said you want to cover some things, some teams. You like
Yeah.
what they did. Maybe a couple teams, each of us like what they
Right.
did. And then I think we both have one team in particular where we're going to have a little fun with them. But before
Right.
we get there, are there any other teams? I think one of your teams was the Ravens. You were raving about the
Yeah.
Ravens draft, but what's another
But I
team
mean,
that you
but
like what they did?
well, again, I think we covered one of them. Again, I think the Dolphins, man. You take out that Austin Jackson pick, like I think you get Tua and you surround him with talent. The Buccaneers, man. I like what they did in accordance to having Tom Brady and being able to also still, get Antoine Winfield there in the second round.
And they
Good
got the
player.
running back from
Got the running
Vanderbilt.
back too.
Hmm.
Yeah, who's going to catch some balls out the backfield. So again, and again, even if I don't think about teams necessarily, like shout out to these receivers, man.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
they were doing the receivers. I don't know what the total was by the 100th pick, but I mean, again, these dudes flew off the board, and it showed you again, like it's pick your favorite ice cream with the receivers. This is just what type of receiver do you like? I wasn't the hugest fan of Michael Pittman Jr. However, he had good tape out there. But the Colts obviously felt like it was sudden to go up there and get him. We don't really have to spend, because I do want to spend the majority of the time talking about the one glaring weakness of this draft from a particular team. But some teams that I didn't really understand kind of what they're doing. Um, the Saints are moving around a lot. We got some good players moving around a lot. But I hate the Saints for our audience.
I
For my
like what the
concern a
Saints
little bit.
did.
I hate them. So I'm
I
not.
know
I'm
you
not.
hate them, but I think the Saints are having a good draft.
Well, they got the second best quarterback in the league on their bench, so I don't really know. He would have won MVP over Lamar Jackson if he just had the shot. So,
You asked me a
um,
question earlier about the receivers. I think we had 17 receivers go in the first 3 rounds.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a crazy amount of receivers to go.
I think we're at 17 guys from the wide receiver position that have already gone.
Right. Well, why you look that up? I mean, the other thing I was going to say too, I think this draft really shows you why the Jordan Love pick was so bad, and from the Packers standpoint. Because, and here's the question for our audience that I asked you earlier. I don't know if you got a chance to think about the answer, and I would encourage anybody who's listening to this to ask this question for yourself. Given the circumstances, what was the worst pick? The Jordan Love to the Packers thing in the first round, or with an aging quarterback and Aaron Rodgers, still elite, but aging in his
It's
late 30s, mid
36.
to late 36 or late 30s now, but picking a quarterback in the first round? Or is it the Jalen Hurts to the Eagles in the second round with a 26-year-old quarterback? So I'll let you take it away from there.
This is a tough one, but I'm actually going to go Eagles for the fact that you just pay Carson Wentz, and I think, and listen,
128 million.
I understand, and I think it's like 60 something guaranteed, and
Yep.
this is not even me being like the Cowboys guy, but there's been an ongoing debate, right? Just in the sports, everybody's gotten defensive about Carson Wentz and his injury history and him not finishing the playoff game. And, he did make it through most of the season, but then when he got that moment of opportunity, doesn't finish. They did draft a quarterback just last season, right? And so maybe they already saw enough what they needed to see. But all I heard from Eagles fans was the lack of weapons that Carson Wentz had, the lack of help,
Yeah.
banging the table there, right? And then we're hearing a draft where you have executives all over the place talking about how much historic talent is available in terms of depth, and then not to take advantage of that and not to participate is baffling to me. And so and the funniest thing was the resident spokesman of the Philadelphia Eagles, Dan Orlovsky, is on there on Twitter, and he was just befuddled. I saw the video he posted where he even said, "This doesn't make sense to me, but I'm going to try to make football sense out of it." And he basically went in a roundabout way of saying, like, Jalen Hurts can do a lot of the things. He didn't say Taysom Hill by name, but basically name those roles and responsibilities of like that triple threat / type player. Philadelphia Eagles, you do not have the luxury of picking that type of player where you are with the current talent base that you have. You know who has that luxury? The Kansas City Chiefs or the San Francisco 49ers. Some teams that have deeper rosters where you can get a little bit more experimental with that right now. When you look at the wide receivers that were still on the board, even defensively, some of the help that the Eagles need from various levels.
Well, they needed a tackle. They could have taken a tackle right there. The Jason Peters stuff is going on. You could pick a O-line or D-line there. You could go D-back. You could pick anything else at that point in the draft.
And that's not to mention that Jalen Hurts, I mean, I don't know who else was banging the table for Jalen Hurts in the second round. And you see Doug Peterson's face, and he's like almost cackling, if you will.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Eagles fans have spin for this. I really, really don't. I really, really don't. At least with the Packers thing, I just want to finish this point real quick. At least with the Packers thing, to me, I don't agree with what the Packers did either, and I've had some good conversations with some Packers fans today about it, and they're obviously disappointed, and they're actually one of the teams that had a terrible draft, in my opinion, for what occurred, even after the Jordan Love pick. But at least there, it's like, if you have him ranked like as a baby Mahomes light type of thing, you can justify the board explanation. I get it. But the Eagles thing, because I do think there's something to be said about Carson Wentz in the locker room. We've heard these little things about him. And I also think that it could play into his mental psyche, where it's like, these guys really, really fully believe in me long term to get them to where they need to go. So for me, it would be Jalen Hurts to the Eagles.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with you on that. And again, it's hard because when you pick a guy like that, it also makes you wonder, who did you think was going to pick him if you didn't take him there, right? Like, were you feel like we have to take this guy here because in the next 10 to 15 picks he's about to go to somebody? But also, it's hard to pick a guy that your best case scenario is that they're not going to start. And I don't see a path to him starting unless you really believe that Carson Wentz is not built for this league. And if you believe that Carson Wentz is not built for this league, then why did you pay him? So I think it's one of those things where we really got to figure out what's going on behind closed doors, because I think the Eagles fans, and again, I hate the Eagles, not as much as the Saints, but I hate the Eagles. I think they deserve
Me too, but I'm just trying to make football sense of it, like Eagles commissioner Dan Orlovsky said.
Right. Like, and I think the Eagles fans deserve an answer. Like, so what's the thought process behind this pick? Because you ideally aren't going to groom a quarterback that you take in the second round behind, a guy you just picked in 2016.
Let me ask you a question. Did you have a second round grade on Jalen Hurts, yes or no?
No, I told you I wouldn't touch Jalen Hurts before the fourth round. And I was aware that the Cowboys.
Why?
And it's funny. I'm watching Howie Roseman talk right now, and he looks like he's trying to explain some shit.
Why did you have a fourth round grade on Jalen Hurts?
So here's why. He's a limited passer of the football, right? Some of these great catches that we even see, not to bring up the Cowboy stuff, but that we see CeeDee Lamb making, is because the throws are behind the receivers. The throws are not on time. He doesn't throw with anticipation. So you, first of all, when you draft him, you have to be committed to developing his passing mechanics. The other reason is he's not Randall Cobb. I know the easiest thing is for people to look at him and be like, oh, he's a black quarterback who runs fast, so we can use him this way. He's not that type of an athlete. Like, he's an athlete. Don't get me wrong. I know they want
He's
to
very
show me the
strong,
SWAT.
very good. Yeah,
They want to show me all that. But what I mean is from being,
Are you
I
talking about
never
like
gotten
quick
the
twitch?
impression. Yeah, like quick twitch and elusive, like going to make you miss in space, that sort of thing. And he's not shown that he has the ability to even catch passes or anything like that. So if you're picking him, to me, it's because you're picking him to use him as a quarterback, not as a gadget player or anything like that. That's why I was okay with the idea of the Cowboys picking him, because of how he used Dak Prescott, even though he's a little undersized. Also, Dak has a better arm, but also has some of the same challenges with being a bad ball thrower at times, right?
Yeah,
So
I
it's
agree with
very
that.
similar stuff. This man's game is not Carson Wentz's game. So is this going to be a situation where if you use him like the Saints use him, are you taking Carson Wentz off the field to run some of the stuff that you want to run, some of the read option stuff that Carson's no longer able to run? Like, and if that's the case, is if Carson's coming off the field, or if he's going to wide out, or whatever the case he is, where he goes stands over there, you're taking another good player off the field. So I don't really get it. You know, if I was an Eagles fan, I feel like you already kind of, you got the Jalen Reagor thing. Let's just say that we say Jalen Reagor is a good pick, and that's fine. Cool. You had a chance to build off of that some more and build momentum where people could say, you know, we didn't trade up, but at least I think that's the worst fear about this. It's like, for Eagles fans, we didn't trade up for, you know, CeeDee Lamb, but you know what? At least we use our second pick wisely, and we feel good because we either got another receiver or another DB to cover these guys on the Cowboys because we lost another cornerback or whatever the case is. But instead, you essentially use that second pick that you could have used to go up for CD on a quarterback that's not going to play.
I
Who
agree.
may or may not suck. Like, again, the Packers did this a few years ago. What was the black quarterback for UCLA that came out? I think it started with a B also. They tried to develop him. Yeah, UCLA, black quarterback, kind of skinny frame. They picked him, I want to say, in the second or third.
Oh, Brett Hundley.
Yeah, Brett Hundley. Yeah.
Brett Hundley. Yeah, they did do that.
Yeah, they did that. But again, it was luxury. They were coming off of winning season. They could do it. They had the receivers. They had Young Devontae. They had other stuff on the roster where it's like, okay, we can develop a guy and whatever. I don't see the method of developing a quarterback when the starter is only 26. So, again, unless they're saying that,
it's also when you do this, like, you drafted a quarterback last year that Eagles fans are telling me was more accurate than Dak Prescott. Then you still have guys on the board, even if you don't, maybe they didn't like any, whether it was Jake Fromm, or I understand those guys don't really have the movement skills that Carson Wentz has. So maybe they're like, hey, from a fit perspective, athletically wise, in terms of what Doug Peterson wants to utilize in his offense, Jalen Hurts is kind of the last guy on our board who can fill that backup slash role.
Yeah.
But to me, it was a reach. And it set the tone. I mean, Eagles fans on Twitter, and I enjoyed it. I'm here for it. I was sipping my drink as they had a full-on meltdown on social media. Let's be real. So I would love for any Eagles fans. We've been at war before on this channel after y'all won the Super Bowl, but I'd love for you guys to chime in with your thoughts.
Yeah.
On if you have a defense of this pick. And look, I saw some people saying, hey, I loved Jalen Hurts is a guy that everyone will root for because he's the highest of high character people.
Right.
It has nothing to do with – I'm not talking about that. Yeah. It's like the Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James disclaimer. He's a great father. He's a great humanitarian.
Yeah, right.
He's an ambassador to the game.
Right. Put it on the screen.
Not talking about that, right? We're talking about on the field, right? He struggles to go through progressions. Like you mentioned before, he's a bad ball thrower, a little too much. And it's just in a pro-style offense, with a lot more, with things moving even faster and things aren't as defined as they were for him at Oklahoma.
Right.
Not as many big windows. How will he look? So, but then again, maybe they know something about Carson Wentz that none of us know.
So I have a hot take, and I haven't said this to you, prior to this moment. I think this might be like weirdly. I do think they have to know something about Carson that we don't currently know, and that may be how Carson's received in the locker room. You said something very key. You were like, "Hey, people are gonna like him when he comes in the locker room. People are gonna like Jalen Hurts. People are gonna gravitate to him.
Just like they like Nick Foles.
Right, and that same type of thing is going to happen. And so what's going to happen, and I would not be surprised if Carson Wentz suffers another injury, Jalen Hurts comes in and has some success. That I know we paid the guy, but hey, you know what?
He galvanizes the locker room and all. Yeah.
But there's already a path for that because you've already done it with Carson Wentz. So it's like at that point, and this is not to say I want to make sure, like you said about put it on the board. I like Carson. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's going to play. He's a good humanitarian, all these things. I like the player. But you don't make that move in the second round unless you believe there is something that you need to worry about. Because you're not making that move to say, well, just in case we lose Carson Wentz. Because if that's the case, if you just want to make sure you had a good backup quarterback, why not? You can get Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton or all these other guys for on the low, people who have started games and competed without using draft capital to do it. So you're not picking them unless you're ready. You're trying to develop somebody.
That's a good point. Like a guy like an Andy Dalton, I don't understand. Yeah, and I agree with that. Especially if he's not going to stay in Cincinnati. I'm sure Cincinnati will probably, they'll want to have a fresh start, fresh energy with Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, and that regime. So yeah. I just don't. It's a little perplexing for me personally. I do want to highlight a team I like since we just brought them up. I know Cincinnati has the number one pick, but I do like what they've done. I do like what they've done. They stood in there. We talked about Joe Burrow and what he's going to bring to the table, and he's already ingratiating himself in their franchise as much as you possibly can virtually. Right. But to follow that up with a T. Higgins, who everyone just wants to ignore 3 years of tape because of one bad day. And his 3-cone was a disaster, and the 40 time, all those things. But when I watch him play and I see him catch the ball all over the field, and I do see him being able to separate from guys, I do see him being physical at the point of attack and be able to use his hands and get people off of him. And he has that God-given A.J. Green-like ability to use his frame and go and get the football. And you talked about earlier with Gallimore and some of the guys we picked, the biggest games, the biggest situations against some of the best corners, best coverage, all he did was win. So for them to partner up T. Higgins right off the bat, let's go get somebody for Joe Burrow. Really like that. Really like that. I like what Cincinnati's doing.
Well, I agree with that too, and I think I think Cincinnati's going to sneak up. I don't think people realize how much Cincinnati was intentionally tanking last year with how they did everything.
Yeah, because their roster wasn't complete trash.
Right. So when they come back and you're like, all of a sudden they got Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow and AJ Green and
Tyler
T.
Boyd,
Higgins and now Tyler Boyd, and all of a sudden now they're putting up 17 to 20 points a game and or 24 points a game, and you're looking at it like, oh wait, didn't they have the first pick? You're gonna see, and this is a reflection. I said this earlier for our audience. Although we both agree that the Dolphins are having a very good draft, I mean, this is the whole thing with tanking and why if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right and be committed to it. And then again, like you said, I know they have the first pick, but how many teams have we seen had the first pick and not hit it out the park? And that's not to say that, it's because the team picked the guy who just underperformed, but pick people at those high spots where you're like, why are you using this as a luxury? Like Browns have done it for years, where they get all these picks, and then they blow it. They're picking people all over the place. And again, I want to speak on the Browns, the Grant Delpit pick. You did this with Greedy Williams last year. Like, how many of these LSU guys do you want to have on your team with the same type of character issues? I'm not saying that their character issues are bad, but just saying they almost have the same football traits where they don't tackle, they don't play hard. Who's the leader of that locker room?
Ooh, I wouldn't say they don't play hard. I just think that they struggle. Grant Delpit clearly struggles at times at the point of attack, especially on tape.
When I say play hard, I mean play with physicality.
Okay.
That's
Because I don't think that's
I know,
yeah.
right. I'm not saying they're not trying. I'm just saying that they're not, you don't get off the bus. I think they're a very finesse team in a very non-finesse division.
Hmm.
And so again, I have severe questions about, so when you gotta go to Baltimore and Lamar Jackson is running down your throat, KJ Dobbins, Mark Ingram, Mark Andrews, who are gonna get these guys to the ground? I don't see, because it can't be Myles Garrett or nothing. I know they got some other players in there, but I'm just not seeing it with the Browns right now.
Well,
So
so I do like them picking Jacob Phillips, also
yeah,
from another LSU guy, right? But he's at least a thumper.
right.
He's at least a thumper. Whereas Patrick Queen was like the athletic kind of cover guy and get to the outside zone and do all those things. And that's why Patrick Queen went in the first round. He's the 2020 modern day athletic linebacker that can play all three downs. Jordan Elliott was a problem child at Texas. He goes to Missouri. They said one of the funniest things about him that I've heard about a prospect where he had a lot of activity but not a whole lot of productivity.
I
Uh,
never heard that said. I was like, dog, I don't even know how to take that.
I don't know
Like,
what that means. Classic Jim. I
but
think that was Daniel
they're like,
Jeremiah that said that.
yeah, he was like, I mean, he's moving around all the time, but
He's doing stuff. Yeah.
just
I
just
don't
a
know what
nerd.
he's doing, but he's doing stuff. And look, Jordan
Just
Elliott is very, very talented, but I don't. He was a problem child at Texas. When it, from an attitude perspective, they
yeah, yeah,
talked about him flipping schools and his recruitment, which I followed closely. They are not joking when they said he flipped from Baylor to Michigan to Texas.
he's a well journeyman.
Yes, and then he leaves Texas. I get it was a Charlie Strong thing. He didn't vibe with Tom Herman. He then goes to Missouri and does this thing for Barry Odom over there and follows Brick Haley, and that's fine and all. But that also affected his draft stock because when you look at his talent, his first step quickness at his size, he should be a
Yeah,
special player. He should be up there with the Javon Kinlaws from a physical standpoint, or a Marlon
yeah,
Davidson. All these other brothers have. He has that same type of talent level, but is the inconsistency causes him to go at this spot. So to your point about the characteristics of those inconsistency, it seems like that's a recurring theme with the Browns. And I do think this is a very interesting division in the AFC North, where you have a Baker Mayfield, you have a Joe Burrow, you have a Lamar Jackson. And then what are the Steelers going to do? Because you have Ben Roethlisberger, who's coming back from the elbow, whatever that thing
right.
was. Mason Rudolph's not the answer. Doug Hodges is not the answer. Do they
Maybe you sign
now
Jameis
go and
Winston.
look at a Jameis Winston? Yeah,
I think
who's only
Jameis. I think
26.
I think Jameis would be the guy if I was going to do it for the Steelers, because again, I think he would get along. I'm just assuming, not because he's black, could get along with Mike Tomlin, or Mike Tomlin could talk to him, but also somebody who Ben Roethlisberger we've seen also have that gunslinger mentality where he's throwing the ball over the place. But again, all the receivers, like the problem that the Steelers had last year, let's be honest, the quarterbacks didn't have arm talent, right? So
No.
you got but again, when they picked Dodds, the dude from Tennessee, we knew that. Mason Rudolph, we kind of knew that. Like, they're doing it over and over again. So I think Jameis would be the answer, unless they want to go the big arm guy, Jacob Eason, unless they want to do something like that. But again, I feel like you've already had the guy like Landry Jones before in the past who can't move in the pocket, and it didn't work out for you either. Also, because again, this division is going to require your quarterback going to have to be able to make some plays. I mean,
Well, we're
uh,
looking at the board right now. So in terms of available, let's go to best available because you actually brought up something. We have two quarterbacks on the board. So you have, which is interesting because it kept showing them parallel. Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason. So Jake Fromm comes
yep,
in to Georgia. Jacob Eason got hurt at Georgia. Jake Fromm then replaces him, doesn't get his job back. They go to the national championship, whatever. Jacob Eason then has to transfer to Washington. And then Jake Fromm somehow inexplicably keeps his job over Justin Fields, which will prove to be a historic
well,
mistake.
right,
um, but now they're both Jake Fromm and Jacob Eason are now sitting here, both still available for
mm,
very, very different reasons.
right.
And, you know, do the Steelers potentially look at another late round quarterback um, like that?
I don't
I
think you
think
can
it's
do the
interesting that the Patriots keep passing on these guys.
right. I don't. Well, the Patriots. Either they're going to
They are
sign a
like, we're
guy.
not picking a quarterback.
Right. Like, look, Jake Fromm can't throw the ball. So if the Steelers or the Patriots want to do that, the Steelers, you have already done it. He can't cut the ball in the weather. There's no point in doing it. Eason, you should know what you're going to get if you're going to do that guy. But again, you better protect him. They got some linemen over there.
If you
That
can protect Eason, you have upside there because he can put the ball
right.
wherever he wants.
Well,
It's
the main
just
thing is like, how good are the receivers going to be ready to play this year? Is Juju Smith-Schuster going to get better this year? Like, are these guys going to get better? If they can get better, a guy like Easton can work. He's somebody that I would like to groom. That's somebody the Eagles picked in the 4th round of the draft. I would say, okay, makes sense. Another big arm guy.
right.
Yeah, can't do the reoption stuff, but it works.
Do him later. Not going to play right away. Doesn't put that energy because we both were living in DC when the Redskins picked Kirk Cousins after they picked RG3, and we saw it was a very slow mental thing in the back of RG3, always having that guy behind you. Not to say that you shouldn't welcome competition at your position group. I'm not saying that, but when you're telling me that I'm the franchise guy, I'm the franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
The way football works, you're supposed to build around me. You're supposed to put me in the best position, even the way you determine my backups. That's been one of my problems with how the Cowboys have handled Dak Prescott. We've never put even a backup quarterback that's more of a veteran that can help him the way he had that his rookie season, right? And so the Eagles, I felt like, had done a very good job of that, whether it was Nick Foles or Josh McCown, right? Always having that.
Or Chase.
That guy.
Didn't they have Chase Daniels, or another guy like that in there?
I don't know if they had Chase Daniel, but
it wasn't
I think
Chase Daniel, but it was another guy that looks like that. Like, is another smaller quarterback, whatever. But go ahead.
But just having those type of people around you. I don't want another guy who's 23 who,
right.
all of a sudden, if I go down
legend.
and wins a few games, everybody's like, oh, should he be the man? You know what I'm saying? Like, build around me, bro. Use that pick to go get another weapon. Since y'all keep telling me that he was throwing to firemen, to backup firemen and people that were doing janitorial work at the community center.
Well, so Carson Wentz was the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 4,000 yards in a season where no receiver had over 500 yards. And you pick a quarterback with your second pick.
Great job, Philadelphia Eagles.
Look, Eagles fans, look, I feel for you, but you can't defend this one. This is just one of those ones that it's the beginning of the end for something, because something is wrong. And maybe they're more worried about Carson Wentz's long-term health or his back or his concussion stuff.
Right.
Like, then they're leading on, because you don't make that pick unless you're ready to get this guy ready to play.
I want to finish. I do want to finish on the Cowboys though. Day 3 tomorrow. What picks do we have left? Let me bring that up. Actually,
we have 2 fifths. I want to show.
So
2 fifths.
I think we pick at 123 next. So we have a 4th, 2 fifths, and a 7th. Just with whether it's a player that's still out there, positional versatility. Just what would you like to see addressed on day 3?
Again, the players, I'll have to look at the name of the list, see who is all out there, really. But again, I think I would like to see them continue to draft. I think I'm all in on DBs and a linebacker at this point. We got to replenish the special teams. So I would like us to get some of those linebackers tend to be, of course, special teamers. And people are like, well, you already got Thor, but no, we got March Lillard, we got Joe Thomas, we got Sean Lee, we got LVE, we got Jalen Smith, but maybe another linebacker or so in there. But yeah, definitely another corner. Even if it's somebody just come in and compete and push us. I remember a few years ago when the corners were playing well, we had 4 or 5 of them, and we felt like, hey, you know what? We're good because we can just throw those guys out there. And again, I think because of the Chiefs, which you're realizing is a lot of these teams in the league, it's the Golden State Warriors type offenses that you got to stop, where people just throwing points out there, throwing for yards, throwing everything. So those are the 2 things I may look for with those 3 picks left. So 4 picks.
One guy I really want, and I know by saying it we're not going to get him, but I'll say it anyway, who I've loved. So my brother-in-law playing baseball at Louisiana Tech. Yeah. I went to a lot of Louisiana Tech football games, and then Louisiana Tech happened to play Texas in the opener. and Tran and I go to the game, and or actually Tran didn't go to the game with me. It was the opener, but
Yeah.
he was at his parents' anniversary. But when I went to the game, I saw Amik Robertson, corner from Louisiana Tech, and he's about 5'8", 5'9". I don't know what the hell he is, and I'm watching him against Colin Johnson, and he is battling his ass off, and I'm to the point where I'm like, somebody turned to me and they're like, "Do you see number 21 on Louisiana?" And mind you, Texas at this point is up 3 scores. The game's getting out of hand. Like, who's number 21 on Louisiana Tech? Like, this guy's a dog, right? And so, and Samuel Unger is just not. He's not able to complete balls, that direction, right? And lo and behold, end of the season, I go to watch their bowl game against Miami. Same thing. And then end of the season, Pro Football Focus, he's the second highest graded corner in college football this year. I think he had like a 92 grade. So players like that, you talk about special team contributors and people that change the culture in your locker room and bring that dog out. Yeah. He's going to fight somebody in practice, okay?
Yeah.
In a good way. In a good way, making bringing that toughness. Yes, he does lack the fit. Everything is not on his own merit. Like he doesn't have that physical, that Trayvon Diggs type size. But I'm a big Amik Robertson fan, and I any team that gets that brother is gonna love him. So that's somebody I'd lobby for. If we're looking at any other safeties that are still on the board, Antoine Brooks from Maryland. I like Maryland safeties. I don't know why. They have a good track record with me recently, especially the brother Savage that went to the Packers.
Savage,
yeah. I like Maryland guys, and they whooped our ass twice in a row. So sign me up for that. I would be on board for Jordan Fuller from Ohio State or Kayvon Wallace. But at the end of the day, now's like you said, where you fill out the special teams, positional needs. Cowboys have an inventory of who may not be as healthy as we personally may know. We maybe start to spruce that up a bit. Maybe we, Tyler, I think it's Tyler Badaz from Wisconsin still on the board too. So now if you want to go and try to experiment with center or guard, knock yourself out.
Absolutely. Right. You've put it in a spot on your team now with free agency and the first 3 picks of the draft where now you are at the point where you can do whatever you want. Like there's nothing that you can, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say this. If they want to take a punter in the 5th or 7th round, go for it. Because I still think Chris Jones can be upgraded. Well, I think that,
No, he can be upgraded. He didn't punt well last year. Don't mince words. He didn't kick well. No one noticed it because
I forgot.
Brent Money Maher was a disaster.
Well, yeah. Well, not from 60 plus. But hey, again, you can literally do whatever they want. So I'm really looking forward to it tomorrow, and just really starting to see these picks start to come through. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, let's link tomorrow just for one last recap. Before we leave, though, I do want to send our thoughts, prayers, condolences to Dak Prescott and for the loss of his brother Jace. I'm not going to go into the logistics of what's being speculated about it, but as you guys saw during the broadcast and what was announced, I think late last night, early this morning, his brother passed, his older brother. Bruce, both of you, we I consider you a sibling, and we both have siblings via blood. And I think what also hit me was seeing that 1988 up there. We're both 88 babies, 31 years old. So that's our QB1. That's our general. I know he's hurting right now. I couldn't imagine not having my mother and my brother at 26, which is wild.
Right.
So my thoughts are with the brother.
Yeah, man, I think it's tough. I mean, anytime, the man's going through, and not that it matters. I mean, this football is so trivial when you think about it in the scope of things, but, you go from one day thinking about draft and contracts and people complaining about how many people are at your house for a party, and a week later you lose your brother. It really kind of puts everything in perspective.
Absolutely.
Again, and there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, as is with COVID-19. And again, it sucks because this was the one thing that this draft has been an opportunity for us to kind of breathe for the first time and feel some level of normality. And so I'm really saddened for him that, he has to deal with that. And, again, football doesn't get a chance to be his getaway. He has to face, plan a funeral and these other things going on. So it's very sad. It's unfortunate. And again, I pray for the man as a person, as somebody I root for, and
football aside, absolutely, yeah. Just
and Dak
what we've learned about Dak.
Yeah, I've always admired the person he is. So, we've seen plenty of people come to this organization that we've been fans of, but maybe they didn't represent the brand or that, or represent the star the way we want to. But Dak's done it right. Day one, he's been a hard worker since Mississippi State. So, again, prayers up.
Prayers up. Well, guys, appreciate y'all tuning in. Bruce, where can the people find you?
Yeah, man. Come follow us. One Chance Many Sounds. We're on IG, YouTube. We just started adding with all this stuff going on. Our Call of Duty gameplay to YouTube. So come check that. Come take on the clan if you want to.
Links will be in the description below.
Yeah. And then we're also on iTunes, Spotify. So yeah.
Awesome. So guys, Texas fans, let's just celebrate again. Devin Duvernay, Brandon Jones. Congratulations to them, their families. Anytime you get that phone call, it's a life-changing phone call. And for my Cowboys fans out there, like I said, and I think Bruce agrees with me, I feel like we're winning the draft right now, so let's finish strong tomorrow.
One more team winning the draft too, the Atlanta Hawks, but go ahead.
You mean the Atlanta Falcons? Or
yeah,
you mean the FUBU Falcons?
Yeah, I don't even know what they want to call us, because I call them Atlanta Hawks because everybody always jokes about how those new jerseys look like they're taking the Hawks
shirt, the
logo.
ATL. Those are FUBU jerseys.
Yeah,
but
Falcons, baby, keep picking well, baby.
There you go. I gotta post a picture on social media. I have a bunch of FUBU T-shirts and stuff from like 11, 12
I heard
years
they come
old.
out with they got the South Pole alternates coming out mid fall. Hey, that's what I heard, man. I heard that was coming down the pipe. So
man! All right, well, let's
suede.
Just full blown ATL. Let's do it. God bless the Atlanta Falcons. You guys have a good night. Horns always up. Peace.
Peace, man.